Hello. Hey Lionheart folks, it's Lev. Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new, I use he and pronouns. Today's video is also an idea I've had for a little while in my brain, and I might bring my whiteboard out again, just like my last video. If I need to write stuff, I'm not exactly sure yet. Today's video, I'm just gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna be talking about career change at 26, or changing career direction at the age of 26. And I'm hoping this video will help. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the audience. Like, ideally help anyone, but more specifically, teenagers just out of school, or young adults, or people my age. Yeah. I had to adjust the tripod angle ever so slightly because I looked too short in frame, and it was just like throwing me off because I was like on the bottom half of the frame. It was really throwing me off. So I'm gonna start by just talking a bit about my background and like sort of where I started and like where I'm at now. So when I was younger, like when I was a child, I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a fireman. I saw the people who drive garbage trucks around and pick up the rubbish, like the garbage truck drivers, and I'm like, that looks fun. I want to be a garbage truck driver. I wanted to be a lawyer at one point, and then as I got older, law gave me headaches, so I'm like, nah. What else did I think of? I thought of being a police officer, and I'm just like, as I got older, I'm like, nah. And then I was just sort of cruising through school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do until I did year 11 psych. So I did psychology studies in year 11. That's the first time I did psych. I'm saying psych for short for psychology. I did like biology, chemistry, physics and stuff in the earlier years of high school, but I didn't do psych. And then year 11 I did psych, and it was like love at first sight, right? It was my favorite subject. It was my top subject for both year 11 and 12. And since I wanted to do year 11 psych, and at the time I was going through some really heavy mental health issues, and was at a really, really bad place in my life, I knew that once I got more experience and I got older, I wanted to become a clinical psych. And from that, like year 11 onwards, I was tunnel vision on clinical psych. Did psych in year 12, and I'm like, yes, after year 12, I'm gonna go straight into uni, do a 4-year psych degree, and then after that, do a postgrad in psych, and then I do clinical psych. And that was my goal. That was my goal, yeah. I had my sights on that, and I tunnel vision on that goal in terms of career. I'm not talking about other goals in life or personal development, blah, blah, blah. This is career. So I was tunnel vision on clinical psych as a career for a long time. And when I started figuring out that I wanted to enlist, I don't want to enlist anymore, but at the time, I'm like, I'm going to become a clinical psych, work in the civilian world a little bit, and then join the ADF, which is the Australian Defence Force. For those of you who don't know, Australian Defence Force as a psychologist. And that was my path. I had mapped it out since I was 16, 17, and that's the path I'm gonna go down. So I did, year 11, 12 psych. I did 4 years of psych at uni. During that time, did a lot of volunteer. I'm talking too fast, and I'm just like, my brain can't keep up. I did a lot of volunteering in mental health, and then after I graduated, didn't really work during COVID year because I didn't land a job during 2020, and so that was the time I was going through a lot of the trans stuff, starting social transitioning. So it wasn't a good time for me to work anyway because I wasn't okay, essentially. I was working on a lot of trans things. And then I started working in 2021, worked my first mental health job, worked 2021, worked 2022, and half of this year. And I want to explain what happened and where the switch came in. And during these years, during university years, during my few years of work, I didn't really explore other pathways. I didn't explore other things. I mean, I did digital content creation and my own films and whatnot, but I didn't think of this stuff as a career. I didn't really do volunteering outside the realm of mental health. I sort of did, but it was like one thing. The rest of it was oriented around mental health and working. Everything was mental health. My world was just mental health, mental health, mental health work, mental health advocacy, mental health work. In terms of career stuff, I didn't really explore any other realms or do anything different. So what happened was I didn't do so well in the last job I had that I lost in June because I was so burnt out. Like I was working and then I jumped from that job to another job and that job to another job. It was not really sustainable. Like looking back, all of my work in mental health, yes, I did. What is it? I got the output that was needed done at the expense of my own mental health. I didn't really know how to take care of myself. And I didn't know I was autistic at the time, like 2021, last year. I didn't know I was autistic. And then I kept experiencing what I know now as autistic burnout. And I didn't know at the time, and I just kept sort of neglecting myself. And then my mental health during my work was not great. I kept going into survival mode because I didn't know look after myself, and I also didn't know about sensory overload and all that other fun stuff that comes with autism. Yeah, I didn't know that. And then what happened with my last job was I got let go of because of burnout. The person managing me at the time knew that I could do the job well, but I was not doing okay. And I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it because I didn't want to quit. He knew I wouldn't quit my job. So he sort of said, hey, so I got let go of by the people who ran the place, essentially. I got let go of not because I couldn't do the job, but because it was at the expense of my mental health and I could not show up consistently. On days where I did show up to work, I did the job really well. And then other times I couldn't show up at all. So essentially, I want to bring out my graph, my whiteboard, sorry. So, bring out my whiteboard again. So what happened in the job, actually in all of the jobs, but what my manager at the time picked up on my last job was this. I started the job here, I had a lot of energy, I aced my job. And then this is still time, this axis is still time. I showed up, there are days I showed up, I could show up for a little bit and then my mental health gets really bad. So I take time off work. I somewhat recover, but I'm still severely burnt out. And then I show up to work again. And then I ace my job for a little bit. And then I crash again. I'm gonna keep going like this because it's happened for a long time. And then I'm upset again. I take mental health days. I do take time off to look after myself. Recuperate ever so slightly. Still wasn't functional. And then I show up to my job again. And then, you guessed it, I crash again. And it was just like this. It's just constant fluctuating between extremes. It was just, okay, it's not meant to go down. It's constant fluctuating between extremes. Like, it was constant. And this middle ground here, I'll link my last video where I was talking about sensory management. This middle ground here is where I function best, where I'm not always just burning out and like going in survival mode and just spitting output out essentially, or days where I just absolutely crash and become a hermit for 4 days. This middle ground is where I want to be, but I couldn't achieve that in my job, and it's particularly my last job in mental health. I kept fluctuating between the two extremes Therefore, I was let go of. Firstly, because it's not good for me to keep doing this. Also, I wasn't okay enough to work in that job at the time. And also, it's not fair to clients who need me and I just keep disappearing because I'm not okay when they need consistency, and I could not be consistent and sharp for them when I did not have energy to shop for myself. And also, it's not fair on the company. So that's why they let me go with very good reason. And I've had a few months to recover from burnout. I had a few months to recover from burnout and sort of process things. I'm currently going to therapy, working on autism stuff, working on managing sensory autistic burnout, working on preventing burnout, working on acknowledging boundaries, and all of the very important things I need to actually function in any sort of job, but especially mental health. But it's during this period of absence from work and actually not worrying about employment, actually having a break, not just taking a few days off work, just to recuperate, just to jump back into the deep zone, the deep end, I've realized things. And this is where this video comes in and where this title of this video it comes in with the career change. Okay, so for the past 2 years, not this year, I applied for clinical psychology. So I applied to study Masters of Clinical Psychology at different universities. And I got rejected from all of them over the past 2 years that I've applied. And at the time, I felt really annoyed. I felt very frustrated. I did get interviews, but I didn't pass interviews. I didn't get an offer. I felt really, really annoyed at the time because I thought I was quite capable and deserving of an offer. And clinical psych, mind you, is very, very, very competitive because literally a lot of people who study psych want to be clinical psychologists. And clinical psych, from my understanding, is the most popular postgraduate study route as opposed to other different types of psychology fields, specializations. I didn't get in. I got rejected. I got really annoyed. But now looking back, I'm glad I didn't get in, because if I got in, it would have been a very different story for me, and I might have continued doing it even though I don't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And another part of this career change for me is I will tell you what I want to do just later in the video. I never knew why I want to do clinical psych. It's like I worked in mental health. I knew that I was passionate about mental health advocacy. I enjoyed helping people, and I like psychology, but I didn't know why I want to do clinical psychology specifically, and I got asked in interviews, and I could not give anything more but a very generic answer that sort of tried to tie in like research aspects and stuff, but there's research in literally every field, and you don't have to do clinical psychology to do research in mental health. Like there's neuropsych, there's organizational psych, there's sports psychology. So basically I could never pinpoint why I want to do clinical psychology specifically. I do enjoy advocating for mental health, and that's something I want to continue doing, but it doesn't have to be in a clinical psychology way. Like I don't have to, and there's a lot of ways to help people besides clinical psychology, like therapy. So I never knew, like could not pinpoint why clinical psychology specifically. And now looking back, that's another piece of evidence that at the time I didn't know that, hey, this is probably not the best path for you, because you don't even know why you want to do this. Again, there's a lot of ways to help people. There's a lot of things I can do in mental health that is not clinical psychology or direct sort of counseling with people. Yeah. My whiteboard again. I don't think I want to talk about my chosen next path in this video and like all the reasons why, because I think it's going to take too long. But I want to do paramedicine, and I probably will make a different video for that, because if I talk about all of the reasons why in this video, this video is gonna become 1 hour. But that's after all the having a break and reflecting, I have an consultation, researching online and stuff. I have pinpointed a bunch of reasons why I want to do paramedicine, and that's my next chosen path. And I probably will make a video about that in the future. But for this video, I want to talk about why direct mental health support and why I am actually changing career directions. It's still in healthcare. Paramedicine is still healthcare. However, it's not clinical mental health. And I have pinpointed reasons why, reasons why working mental health directly does not work for me. And also other reasons that compound the reasons why it does not work for me. And here it is, sorry. I want to write stuff. This is what I'm starting with. This is basically means why I've changed paths and no longer wanting to do clinical psych. Firstly, it's an office job. It's an office job. And I have realized that I'm very hyperactive, and sitting still for long periods of time, such as office jobs, do not work for me because I get tortured. I feel tortured because I'm masking. I need to move, and when I mask by forcing myself to sit all day, it doesn't end well for me, and it contributes to me being not regulating my sensory needs very well, and it leads to hyper arousal. As I want to link the last video. It links to hyper arousal, which leads me to crash, and it makes me really overwhelmed really quickly. It's an office job, and I don't like it. The other thing is all in my brain. The work being all in my brain is also another reason I don't want to do clinical psych or any sort of direct mental health work. All of the work being done in my brain, like all of the stories the clients tell me and all of the helping people work, being all in my brain, as in there is no physicality to it, also really overwhelms me because I like doing things hands-on. I'm a hands-on learner. I like applying knowledge I've learned in a hands-on very kind of way. And clinical psych does not allow me to do that because, again, all of the work is done in my brain. And I like jobs that I realize now that I like work that is both mental and physical, as in there's both a mental and a physical challenge or element to it, like paramedicine. Paramedicine, you still need to know stuff. You still need to be calm, and there's a sort of stress element to it, but there's also a lot of hands-on stuff. The other reason I don't want to do clinical psych or mental health work. The reason. Too many people at one time. What I mean by that is, with my previous mental health work and also with clinical psychology, there's something called a caseload, as in we look after or support a bunch of people, not at the same time, but we have a caseload that's ongoing, that's assigned to us at any given time. And it's sort of like you have 20 people, or how many people you have on your caseload at the back of your mind. And it's always going to be there because it's ongoing care. It's too many people one time, and just remembering where everyone's at in their lives and what I need to do with all the people on my caseload that I'm supporting is also a lot for my brain. The other thing, it's ongoing care. One ongoing care as in I don't work with someone for like a short time period, like a few hours or a day, and being like goodbye, it was nice to see ya, I'm glad I could help you, take care. And that. With clinical psych, unless the client doesn't like us and sort of just has one session being like, I don't like you as a therapist, I want to find someone else, it's ongoing care. Like I've been seeing the same therapist for 3 months ongoing, for example, and my other therapist I've been seeing for like 3 years ongoing. It's ongoing care, as in we see the same people every week, every month, every 2 weeks, however many times there's sessions with the clinician. It's ongoing care. And one thing I really get frustrated about in not clinical psych, I'm not clinical psych, in mental health work is stagnancy. And me being like, in my head wanting to be like, take action, come on, take action. Like, you don't have to be stuck. You can become unstuck really relatively easily. You just have to do this even though you feel scared. Because I like growth. I don't like being stagnant, and I'm the type of person to just keep fighting and keep doing things. Even though I feel pain, even though I get scared, I still do things. I don't like sitting still, and I don't like being still, and I don't like not growing or making progress by doing nothing. And I see that a lot in mental health when people understandably get really stuck or feel have difficulties going on. Just sort of stagnant. And I'm not saying progress is the same for everyone, and I'm not saying progress or actionable steps look the same for everyone. But the reality is, if we don't do anything, nothing will change. And that's one thing I feel really frustrated about in working in mental health is the stagnancy. Even though I really want, like, it's just, you can do this, you can do this. And then the next time I see them, some of them, the people, they say, I haven't done this, nothing's changed. And I'm just like, no. So that really infuriates me. I think I don't have enough patience to become a clinical psych because I'm just like, come on, like progress, come on. The other factor in mental health work, or what I wanted to do initially, clinical psych, is it's autonomous with independent work or independent client caseload. What I mean by that is we do the work on our own. When my therapist has a session with me, it's one-on-one. And it's usually just him and me, ongoing, as in not really part of a bigger team, or say, I don't really get camaraderie from it. Like, of course, in work, there is supervision, you have a manager, and I have supervision with my manager for guidance and advice. But I lack the sense of camaraderie in the job because I'm supporting clients by myself. I have my own client caseload. I'm not saying we don't support each other. I'm not saying there's no support or asking other team members for help. Absolutely, that's a thing. But the job itself is me supporting my own clients. That's the job. I lack that camaraderie. While in paramedics, there is camaraderie. You usually work with a partner. You work as part of a bigger team and a bigger chain of helping people. Dispatch, 000 dispatch, this is my understanding. 000 dispatch allocates cases to paramedics on the field, and then paramedics work and may send the person to hospital, emergency department to hand over with the doctors and nurses there for ongoing care. Or paramedics might do secondary triage or other jobs. But what I'm trying to say is the sense of camaraderie is there, and I'm working as part of a bigger team as a paramedic, as opposed to one-on-one work, having my own caseload. It doesn't really feel like a team effort to me. And that's what I lack in mental health, and that's definitely something I want to lack if I go down the clinical psych pathway. It's a lack of feeling like camaraderie in the work I'm doing with clients. Another thing that links with the first point I made is that there's no physicality. With mental health work, clinical psych, it's sitting indoors in an office, indoors all day. That's the other problem I have. There's no physicality, as in I'm sitting all day, and it's indoors all day. Indoors I get surrounded by walls, day in, day out. I need to move, and the no physicality means I'm masking throughout my work hours, which is 8 hours a day, which is a lot of work hours to be masking and forcing myself to sit still when I really like moving around, and not move around once every 8 hours or so, or once every hour. I like to be on the go. And being indoors all day, makes me feel like I'm trapped in a prison. It's funny because I've actually said this to my previous team, that being stuck indoors all day makes me feel like a prison, makes me feel like I'm in prison. And therefore I have to go for walks quite often because I can't take staying inside all day. And that's another reason why clinical psych is a no for me, or any sort of office job, which a lot of mental health jobs are basically office jobs. Yeah. Speaking of masking, that's another thing. I'm not saying I don't mask at all when working in, say, paramedics in future, but with mental health work, and if I go down again, clinical psych pathway, I have to look professional. And for me, that means forcing eye contact, or forcing myself to look at people and being conscious of eye contact when I usually don't look at people. I don't usually like eye contact. I sort of neglected my noise sensitivity needs at the time because I went to loud cafes to meet with clients during my mental health work, and I didn't want to put on noise cancelling headphones in front of the client while in a meeting with them, because that would look really rude and unprofessional. I really wanted to fidget during sessions with clients because I didn't like sitting still. I restrained myself from fidgeting. I didn't fidget, and I'm just like, it was a lot of masking because, again, no physicality, indoors mostly, and a lot of sitting still, which is all masking for me, especially in front of a client. And I didn't move. I was uncomfortable. Tried to focus on them while there's loud background noise, and I was masking and I couldn't move, and I just trying to just sit in a state of discomfort from sensory overload while trying to listen to the client and support them at the same time. It's a lot. And again, I'm not saying I don't mask in, say, paramedics, but being able to move, being outdoors, not being in an office all day, and not like just other factors really help me, and I might not need to mask so much because my masking comes from not having all the other needs met. Okay, so to sort of this last part of the video, just guidance or things I've learned that I wish I knew, like when I was younger, even like last year or the year before that, or even as I was so tunnel vision on clinical psych earlier this year. Things that I wish I knew, and advice that I wish I knew, essentially guidance and advice I wish I knew. Firstly is getting to know myself, like really getting to know myself. What makes me tick? Where do I thrive the most in work? What conditions of work do I thrive the best in? What conditions, or let's just broaden it, it doesn't even have to be work. Where do I thrive the most? In what conditions, whether it's work, volunteering, daily life things, in what conditions do I thrive? As in, I can do this well without neglecting myself. What what can I do well without it constantly burning me out or constantly leading to burnout. What do I enjoy? Like, can I answer why I want to do something? Like with clinical psych, I couldn't really answer it. With paramedics, which I sort of gave some examples before, but I'll make a separate video for it. I have very clear reasons why I want to do paramedics specifically, even compared to, say, nursing, which I will not talk about in this video. Like the niches of paramedics and why I want to do paramedics specifically and why that environment works for me. Another thing is take time to explore stuff. If you're at a point in your life and you don't know what to do with your life, keep an open mind. Go and explore. Go and experience life. You don't have to stick or commit to one thing. Like if you try something and you're like, yeah, this isn't for me, or maybe, this isn't for me at this point in time, but I'll bookmark this experience. I'll bookmark this, I don't know, field of work. I'll bookmark this thing and perhaps I'll come back to it later. It's something I'm interested in, but maybe not a good time for me right now. So I'll bookmark it, I'll park it, I'll catalog it in my memory, something like that. And just remember, just because, I'm going to repeat myself. Just because we try something, it doesn't mean we have to commit to it. It doesn't. Engage in different opportunities, especially one-off ones, because they don't require commitment. It's like one-off opportunity to do something, no further commitment required. Give a bunch of different things a try. You might be surprised at what you find, because I certainly not in my life until like a month or two ago did I realize that clinical psych wasn't for me. I've been tunnel vision on it for like 8 years. The big question for me that I discovered recently is, what is sustainable? Of course, every single job is going to have its stresses. Every single job is going to have parts that I don't like. That comes with anything in life. I can't like every single thing. But what is sustainable for me and that I'll enjoy and that I can learn how to manage the stresses around? But for me, the sustainability is a big one, because with my past experiences with work, if it's not sustainable, then I can't even show up to work well. I don't win. Like, I don't get anything out of it. I just work while constantly in survival mode and constantly in survival mode and constantly burnt out, and to the point where I can't do anything outside of work. I finish work and then I'm just dead, basically, like mentally dead. My battery's dead, my social battery's dead, my energy is dead in general. I ran out of energy to do anything else in life besides just shower, eat, and sleep. Like, didn't have energy or mental energy to connect with friends or engage with my hobbies and stuff like that. It was just work, dead, recuperate ever so slightly, show up, do the same thing, survival mode, go home, recuperate ever so slightly. And that's not a cycle I want to live in. I want to be able to separate work from my personal life, have a life outside of work, not just work, come home, work, come home, do nothing, work, come home, do nothing. That's not how I want to live my life. So yeah, sustainability. What is sustainable for you? Given your unique circumstances, what is sustainable for you? What can you do long term? Or if you haven't figured it out, what can you do that you relatively enjoy? Ideally, you like it a lot, but what can you do? If we're talking bare minimum, what can you do that is tolerable, where you can have a balance with life outside of work? I don't have any more thoughts for this video at the moment, and I'm pretty sure this video has gone on for a long time, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. I hope this video helped at least one person out there, particularly people who are sort of stuck in life in terms of career, not really sure what direction to go. It's okay to feel that way. I'm currently in that stage in a way of career change, and I know how scary it can be, thinking that like we thought we know, we thought if it's scary when we thought we knew what we wanted, and then it turns out to be not what we wanted, and we're just sort of blindsided in a way and being like, oh, I was pinning on this the whole time and now I'm going in a completely different direction. It can be scary, but that's okay, and that can be part of the journey. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.